This animal will peel your face off like a banana.
But I'm not going to Australia.
It is one of the most venomous creatures that strikes fear into the hearts of every Aussie.
Don't want it.
Land down under.
I love that he says Northern Australia's king. I refuse.
The infamous,
Help me.
terrifying,
Go away.
face hugger.
I wasn't scared, I was
Not much
concerned.
incident legally qualifies me as the first Australian Disney princess.
Already had interest. Boogers was very cute. Go, go. Consume the water. I will. Also got caramel coffee. Caramel. Yeah. That was like caramel, right?
It's book.
It's Booga. Hi, Angel. How you doing? What's up? What you doing? You chewing like feelings? We're under the establishment that I'm not going to Australia, right?
I ate lunch with a wild lizard.
Wahoo!
You see, before I made
Yoshi.
videos, I worked as a handyman, and one day a client asked me to do
fight
some
you,
brush
Miru.
cutting because their lawn was, putting it lightly, completely f***ed. So I'm taming a miniaturized version of the Amazon jungle, and I see something that nearly gives me a heart attack. A big lump of scales slithering through the brush about 2 steps ahead of me. Being Australian, I immediately assumed it was a snake, which is a problem, because the only 2 snakes in my home state are highly venomous and extremely aggressive. So I immediately stopped what I was doing, backed the f*** up, and got ready to call in the snake catcher to relocate the angry hospital noodle.
Help me.
However, while dialing the number, I noticed something. It was kind of too fat to be a snake, and it hadn't tried to eat me yet. So, being the poster child for why women live longer than men, I waddled back over for a closer look, and I found this little guy. This is a blue-tongued lizard, and they're actually pretty cool. Native to Australia, these bad boys are basically a tubby skink, but
Tubby skink.
as the name suggests, they
Like
have a
skinks.
bright blue neon tongue. Now, I couldn't
Scam?
believe
Don't do the throw during reacts. Not a scam. Your fault.
this distinguished gentleman in harm's way, so I yoinked him and began looking for a place to relocate him away from where I was working. However, during the relocation process, this cute little man proceeded to cuddle up to my shirt and fall asleep, and did not particularly appreciate me trying to move him from his resting place. So, considering it was the middle of the day, I just said, fuck it, called a lunch break, and proceeded to sit in the sun eating a chicken sandwich while Godzilla's little cousin took a nap on my shirt. He sat with me for my entire 30-minute lunch break without me holding him. However, unfortunately, I was only halfway through my workday, so after I wrapped up lunch, I had to say goodbye. I very delicately removed my new scaled friend from my shirt and released him back into the wild.
Alrighty, big fella.
Off you go. Back into the bushes. There you go. See you, friend.
I think this incident legally qualifies me as the first Australian Disney princess. I ate lunch with a wild lizard.
I'll fight you,
There was a
Miro.
big-ass huntsman that used to live in my house, and I'm gonna be honest, dude, I kind of just let him hang out.
He ain't f***ing small. I'll tell you that much. There's a huntsman, and they do. Ooh.
I was quite happy to let him just chill, because, I never saw a f***ing mosquito or a fly in that house. So he was paying rent in his own way, you know? There was a big-ass huntsman that used to live in my house. This
Alrighty.
animal will
Alrighty.
peel your face off like a banana. Introducing the one
He was like, I don't want a banana. He slapped the banana.
creature that strikes fear into the hearts of every Aussie. The infamous, terrifying drop bear. A species of predatory marsupial exclusive to the land down under. This genuine nightmare may seem pretty normal at first, closely resembling the koala bear, and that is by design. You see, the drop bear is an ambush predator, patrolling the branches of the eucalyptus tree and using their keen sense of smell to detect incoming prey. And once they can smell you approaching, they will position themselves in the leaves of the trees, being basically impossible to spot unless you're actively looking for them. And even if you do see them, you're automatically going to assume it's a koala. And that assumption is probably going to be the last mistake you make, because walking under these things is inviting the most painful death you can think of. Once you've walked in the range, the drop bear will launch itself from a tree and aim directly for your head. Small animals will often be clapped on impact as the 20-kilo drop bear launched itself out of the tree so fast that it snaps their spine. And they're the lucky ones, because once they make contact with your head, drop bears will immediately puncture your scalp with their foreclaws and latch on like a fuzzy little face hugger. Once firmly attached to your
Don't want it. I refuse. Go away.
Skull, the drop bear will start to kick out your eyes with its hind claws in an attempt to blind you, and while they are forcing you to cosplay Daredevil, they will be tearing into your face with their fangs like a fucking chainsaw. The attacks are so vicious, most human victims end up being completely scalped and having their faces removed. And even if you manage to pull them off in the initial assault, those claws contain a potent neurotoxin which will paralyze you in under 5 minutes, allowing them to run you down and eat you alive. Australia loses roughly 600 people per year to drop bear attacks. So if you want to survive your trip down under, I have a secret to share with you about the drop bear. And that secret is that all of this is complete and utter bullshit. Drop bears aren't real. I made it all up.
I hate you all.
This jellyfish is basically a time bomb. Introducing the Irukandji, a species of jellyfish native to the northern waters of the land down under, and possibly my least favourite animal in the entire ocean.
I love that he says Northern Australia's Caled.
Because it is just a massive, spiteful Well, massive is
I'm getting a theme here.
misleading, as this little guy is tiny. I mean, ridiculously small.
I wasn't scared,
Being
I was
not much bigger than
concerned.
your fingernail at the head, and basically completely fucking invisible to the naked eye. This is a fairly major problem, because behind that halo cloak frame, they are dragging 3-foot-long tentacles, and shocking absolutely no one,
Say the line, Bart.
it is one of the most venomous jellyfish in the ocean. I'm so f***ing tired of the stealth poison multiclasses on OCE servers, dude. This shit is broken. You see, those 3-foot tentacles are covered with tiny little barbs, and at the barest touch, they will literally propel themselves into your skin like a bullet and inject you with the Australia Special, a pina colada cocktail of various neurotoxins. And upon being injected, you will feel absolutely f***ing nothing. You'll keep swimming around, splashing about in the water, kissing the homies, until you are overcome with a sudden, severe feeling of impending dread. I mean the kind of dread that will have you hysterically screaming that you are about to die.
I am gonna die! I'm gonna die! I'm gonna f***ing die!
That's because the invisible cunt here does psychic damage, inflicting a condition known as Irukandji syndrome, which starts with a feeling of impending doom so strong there are records of people asking to be, avoiding a ban here, forcibly disconnected from God's Minecraft server. And that feeling of doom is warranted because about 30 minutes after being stung, that biological bomb goes off, with the venom initially causing extreme pain throughout your entire body. And after making you feel like a failed isekai protagonist, the venom then spikes your blood pressure and heart rate through the roof, which can cause heart attacks, blood clots, and has even been recorded to cause brain hemorrhages. And the f***ed up part is, it doesn't have an anti-venom. This thing sneak attacks you, waits 30 minutes, sends you a private DM telling you it got your ass, and there is not a f***ing thing you can do about it. Toxic little shit. This jellyfish is basic.
Yep, that's the theme of today's videos is Australia's a toxic piece of crap.
This pigeon saved an entire army battalion.
Heroes never die.
Introducing our
never
protagonist,
die.
Jeremy, a carrier pigeon who is in the employ of the US Army Signal Corps during World War I. You see, back in the oldie times, radio technology was, kind of dog shit. So carrier pigeons were still the meta for DMing the homies memes over distance. Which is how, in 1918, our feathered little shock trooper here ended up in France, with 500 US soldiers stuck 3 kilometers behind enemy lines, completely cut off from supply and reinforcement in a 7-day shootout. You see, Jeremy's battalion, juiced up on freedom and red crayons, had overextended and become trapped, surrounded on all sides by German soldiers. And to make matters worse, being stuck behind enemy lines meant they were now on the receiving end of US defense spending, being absolutely hammered with friendly artillery. Now, stuck as far away as they would have had more luck using their radio
No,
as fucking nunchucks than a comms device. So they began sending out carrier pigeons in an attempt
That would
to tell
hurt guys,
command
right?
to stop f***ing shelling them and help on the point. However, the Germans were having none of that shit and shot every single carrier pigeon the battalion sent out of the air like they were running an AIM Labs warm-up. Until only one remained. Cherami. Desperate and rapidly running out of soldiers, the battalion wrote a message and attached it to Cherami, sending him into the air and watching him sail above the trees. And just when they thought he was clear, some f***ing sweat on the German side nailed him. The battalion watched in horror as their last hope spiraled out of the sky. The bullet tore straight through Cherami's center of mass, destroying one eye, punching a hole through his chest, and blowing off one of his legs. And this Giga Chad of an animal tanked it.
Do you have any ibuprofen? I got a headache.
The Marines watched in awe as this mangled pigeon picked itself out of the mud and managed to fly clear of German fire. Cherami made it the whole way back to base, delivering the message and saving a total of 194 soldiers. Not only did he get the job done, but he f***ing lived. He was granted one of the highest military honors the French army could provide and sent into retirement with his trainer. And when he eventually did pass several years later, he was preserved and placed in the Smithsonian, where you can go see him today. There he is. Absolute f***ing legend.
The legend.
This pigeon saved... Scientists just de-extincted a 12,000-year-old dog. Well, kinda. You see, a bioengineering company called...
Kinda. I know this one. What they've basically... They've created a hybrid of direwolf and wolf.
Colossal has dedicated itself to doing what every single Jurassic Park film has told us is a bad idea. Bringing back extinct species. And recently, they made a breakthrough. They have managed to bring back the 12,000-year-old direwolf. You know those...
If they actually bring like a real direwolf though, I want it as a pet.
big-ass puppies from Game of Thrones that the Starks had, yeah, those were actually a real-ass animal, alive during the late Ice Age. And the best way I can describe them to you is, basically a wolf on steroids.
Yeah, buddy!
These things were bigger, faster, and stronger, estimated to have the highest bite force out of any canine. And in a move that I'm sure has no implications, they have managed to bring these bad boys back to life. These two little guys are now 6 months old and have been living on a private plot of land with 24/7 veterinary care. However, they've only just been shown off to the public, with the company going so far as to get a photo op with George R.R. Martin holding one of these adorable little killing machines, showing that that man will literally interact with an extinct species before he finishes that last f***ing book. There is, however, one small problem. This isn't technically a direwolf. You see, by merit of them being extinct, short of specking into necromancy, you can't exactly bring them back. Which is where this guy comes in. You see, the grey wolf shares 99.5% of its genetic code with the direwolf. So, using CRISPR gene editing, they basically toss the grey wolf back into the spore creator, then using the code found in direwolf fossils as a build guide, juiced the out of it, boosting the size slider and putting some extra points into strength, as well as adjusting its head shape and teeth. All in all, they made a total of 20 edits to 14 genes, producing the closest thing we can get to a direwolf short of time travel. Which is cool as f***. I give it 5 years before a man-made horror beyond comprehension breaks out of that f***ing lab, and we are
That's what I'm thinking. I give it 5 years.
Crocodiles are just dinosaurs that forgot to go extinct.
That is true, by the way. Alligators are the only dinosaur that is still alive, besides the arthropods and the things that are in the ocean. For whatever reason, everything that lived in the ocean
I cannot think of a croc
seems to
species
forget.
to better make my point
But
than
what if cat girls?
I don't think you understand what kind of cat girl you'll get. Think about it. You're gonna get anthropomorphic cat. You're not gonna get girl with cat ears and tail. And cat-like tendencies.
saltwater crocodile, a species native to the land down under, and shocking absolutely no one, yes, it can and will eat you. You see, keeping on theme with the whole forgetting to go extinct thing, the salty stat spread just feels like something that should have been patched out with the rest of Jurassic Park. Starting with their ridiculous ridiculous size. You see, salties are the largest reptile on the planet, coming in at a total of 6 meters long with a maximum weight of 1,100 kilos, which makes this murder lizard genuinely longer than my car. And the up part is that despite being longer than my ute, they are for some reason absolute masters of stealth. You see, crocs are ambush predators, which is a scientific way of saying they are dirty campers. You see, they've got 2 raised eyes that sit on the top of their heads, which means they can submerge their Ford Falcon-sized frame basically entirely under the water without sacrificing the ability to spot whatever they are looking to turn into a Happy Meal. And from your perspective as the Happy Meal, they are really difficult to see, which makes it very easy to walk just a little too close and, yeah, get bitten in half by that hydraulic press they call a mouth.
That's why I love Nestle Crunch.
That's right, just like...
You don't understand how hard it is to break a bone that thick. That alligator just snapped a person's back with that
camper,
bite.
these scaly arseholes are packing a one-shot in the form of one of the highest bite forces of any animal on the planet, having been recorded at putting out a maximum of 3,700 psi of force through their jaws. To put that into context, your skull will crack at 1,100 psi,
yeah.
so a croc would pop your head like
your
a
head
watermelon.
would be...
And if you don't immediately get folded by the first bite, those jaws will latch onto you as the croc begins a death roll, spitting its ton of body weight like a washing machine until whatever part of you it has decided to eat snaps off and is added to its protein goals. But the best thing about the crocodile is their build is so
Is that a
good.
saltwater crocodile?
They have genuinely
one?
been around with very little evolutionary change for 65 million years. Which means I grew up watching Steve Irwin wrestle dinosaurs for fun. Rest in peace, you absolute f***ing legend. Koalas are really dumb. In fact,
Koalas are so dumb.
Australia's fuzzy icon
so
is probably
dumb.
the dumbest thing on the planet. And that stupidity starts with their diet, because of all the things they could have chosen to eat, they chose to eat nothing but straight up poison. You see, koalas feed exclusively on eucalyptus leaves, which, shocking no one, are highly toxic, because they are full to the brim with eucalypt oil, which is so fucking poisonous that as little as 3.75 mil is enough to land you in the afterlife, with the Reaper asking you why the fuck you felt the need to eat a leaf.
Why? Seeing
it's
Steve
also
make me have
highly
the feels
flammable
both
and
have one
burns
Cree
like
too.
napalm, because Australia.
Steve's a cutie. I've loved watching Steve when I was little.
Now, despite nature putting up this giant do not eat sign, that
You know his son is basically him now, right? His son is doing the exact same work. And so is his daughter, if I remember correctly. Both his son and daughter work as wildlife conservationists.
That did not stop the koala, because he can't fucking read. This suboptimal bulking diet not only gives the koala all in the way of nutrition, but also requires their body to rest to filter out the toxins so they don't fucking cark it. Meaning they need to spend upwards of 18 hours a day sleeping in order to just digest their fucking
Yes,
food.
family, keep the
These
legacy
dumbasses
going.
spend most of their life in a food coma. That is, however, if they even get to the food to begin with, because they are so mind-numbingly brain dead that they will not recognize a eucalyptus leaf as food unless it is on the branch. I could give this dumbass a lifetime supply of food, and if it wasn't on a stick, he would starve to death. It should come as no surprise to you at this point that the koala has such an esky temperature IQ that they literally have a smooth brain. The thoughts slide right off of this dumb c***. I love him.
But they are super cute.
Australia has just found zombified bugs.
If this is what I think it is, yes, the mushroom evolved. It now affects bugs. So I
That's
remember,
right,
if I remember
we're
correctly,
closer
only
to the
affected
Walking Dead Down
smaller
Under than
bugs.
you think. You see, just recently, a scientist by the name of Dr. Francois Broussard made a trek out to the remote savannah of the Northern Territory, with the goal of finding and cataloguing brand new species of insect unknown to science. I mean, me personally, I think we've found more than enough bugs, especially considering that half of them can send me directly into the f***ing soil. But what do I know, right? Anyway, on his trip to the middle of nowhere, he stumbled across a colony of spiny savanna ants, which is a pretty normal thing to find out there. However, getting closer, he noticed something a little off. You see, the main ant colony was fine, completely normal. However, the several disfigured and deformed ant corpses clamped onto shoots of grass surrounding the colony like a Bug's Life version of Vlad the Inhaler, yeah, those were significantly less normal. Broussard, mildly unsettled by the ant gore on his timeline, took samples for inspection and upon getting a closer look, realised something both really cool and really spooky. The ants had been overtaken by fungus.
Big old red ones.
More accurately, a previously unknown strain of the cordyceps fungus, infamous around the globe for its ability.
The idea is it's already been able to, like, infect things, but now it can infect and move them.
To create zombie bugs. And the way it does it is unbelievably horrific.
And yeah, that was one on a spider. Like, it's able to get big bugs now.
You see, it begins with a spore landing on an ant and producing a thin rope-like strand that penetrates and attaches to their exoskeleton. At which point, the ant gets a little timer on his hotbar, counting down to a family reunion with his ancestors. Once inside, the fungus begins to take control of the ant's body and brain function, completely changing their behavior, replacing their colony-focused mindset with one single goal: climb. Its fungus-riddled mind drags its rapidly deteriorating body to the closest high point, which is usually a plant, with its final act being to clamp its mandibles onto the stem in a death grip, finally succumbing to the infection and being completely consumed, its corpse blossoming into a fully grown cordyceps fungus and raining down spores onto the rest of the colony to continue the cycle of infection. Now look, I know this fungus is found elsewhere in the world, but it's a new strain and it was found in Australia. With my luck, I'm going to be playing The Last of Us against couch-sized spiders within the fucking week. Australia has just found zombified bugs.
And apparently Japan's experimenting with it, by the way. Which I've heard. Which, no please. Please stop. Burn it, please. Yeah, Japan's experimenting with it. You realize Australia is very hot, right? You realize the scary thing about the Australian strain is heat doesn't really stop it. Yeah, warmer temperatures, it can mutate. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right, Meanie, but if it can survive Australian temperatures, what's to stop it from surviving body temperatures? Because Australia gets to like 100 plus degrees. So, yeah, we have about 5 to 10 years. If they keep messing with it.
Hi Boka. Why is there the guy from Plants vs. Zombies on your screen?
Because they were talking about the cordyceps mushroom and how a new strain is in Australia. So, you know.
Koala. Australia has
Scary.
just found...